This is the Ohio Farm Bureau podcast. I'm Ty Higgins, visiting with Ag Credit from their conference up here in Perrysburg, Ohio. And Zach Mag joins me, a loan officer with Ag Credit. Going to be talking about some trends. We have seen some things in agriculture, especially on the commodity side. Prices really haven't been all that great.
Right.
I think if I recall, in the summer of 2024, we saw corn prices that would be equal to what they were in 1974. So obviously not a whole lot of good news on the commodity price front. But what are you seeing as far as ag finance goes with these low commodity prices?
Yeah, it's an interesting time now. You know, rates are on the higher side than what we're used to in the last several years. I think you see farmers kind of buttoning up their purchases. They might be fixing instead of buying. They really look to see if it's something they need on the farm.
What are some challenges as you visit with borrowers looking ahead to 2025 that you're hearing about directly from them?
Commodity prices is the biggest one. I think we've seen a little bit of increase here in the last couple of weeks, so we're on the right direction. There's talk about rates if they're going to go down. We all hope they do. But yeah, there's a lot of things they're looking at nowadays.
I don't want to be all doom and gloom. I mean, I don't think I've said the word uncertainty more in my career than I have over the last 3 months, right? There's a lot going on that would make a farmer second guess what they do for a living, right? But there are some positives in agriculture. What are some of the things as we look forward to 2025 that we can be really happy about?
I think we're approaching spring. I think every farmer is getting excited to get out in the field. Like I said earlier, your commodity prices are seeing a little rebound. Input costs have gone down a little bit, so there's things moving in the right direction to help the farmer. There's programs out there in terms of finance. We have Ag Credit offers the Ag Link program through the state of Ohio with the operating loans. So there's ways we can reduce their costs to help them make a buck off an acre.
So you talk to farmers on a daily basis.
I do.
I know you mentioned the excitement going into spring, and farmers are always optimistic when they get that planter out of the barn. There's no doubt there's excitement when they do that. But what else are you hearing about how they're feeling going into this new year? I mentioned all the uncertainties. Is that in the back of their mind? What are they telling you as far as how they're approaching this year and some of the things they're thinking about?
Yeah, I don't think their game plan is changing. In Northwest Ohio, I think they have their rotation. They're going to plant what they plan on planting from last year. Ground prices, they're high. They're really thinking hard if something comes up, if they should make that purchase. Equipment, like I said, probably more limited than it has in the last couple of years. If they truly need it on the farm or not. So
Zach Mag joins us on the podcast, a loan officer with Ag Credit here at their annual meeting in Perrysburg. Great to visit with you. Thank you very much for the insights.
Well, thanks for having me.
My name is Stacy Irwin. My husband Gary and I own K&S Millwrights. We are an agriculture-based millwright company. We build feed mills, also on-farm grain systems. We have 27 employees. We need to have good medical coverage for our team and their families. From a business perspective though, every year we're facing increasing costs and premiums. So to be able to pass on no change in premiums with the same kind of coverage to our employees was a great benefit. One of the health plans I had recently heard about was the Ohio Farm Bureau Health Benefits Plan. We found that we were going to have almost the same coverage with very little change in premiums, virtually the same deductibles, and better prescription coverage with no change in cost. That was why we went with the Ohio Farm Bureau Health Benefits Plan.
Learn more about the Ohio Farm Bureau Health Benefits Plan at ofbhealthbenefitsplan.org.
When it's their turn, running the farm will be different. Technology will keep evolving. Global demand will keep increasing. That's why we're here, to keep building a better, brighter future for the next generation of Ohio farmers. Ohio Soybean Council. Invested in your future.
Welcome back to the Ohio Farm Bureau podcast. I'm Ty Higgins, visiting with the folks from Ag Credit this week at their annual meeting in Perrysburg, Ohio. Scott Parker joins me, Vice President of Operations, and there's a lot going on. We're talking about a lot of those issues here at the conference.
Right.
Talk about the Farm Bill, talk about taxes, talk about all the uncertainty, as Zach and I mentioned earlier in the podcast, that we're seeing in agriculture. Overall, how is the current state of this industry impacting what you do at Ag Credit?
Well, obviously it impacts us just like it impacts our customers, our members, but we treat it just like they are. We got to operate more efficiently, control our margins, and focus on what our borrowers need, which is sound lending options, timely service, and lower interest costs whenever possible.
You mentioned interest. We are seeing interest rates like we haven't seen in agriculture in some time, but there are ways to get those interest rates lower through a program through the state of Ohio.
Correct.
Talk about AgLink and how it works.
Yeah, AgLink is a great program that our state provides to our members, and we're fortunate enough that we can tack onto that and be the leader in the state in providing that service to our members. I think on average, this past 12 months, we've lowered our interest cost on what borrowers are eligible for by over 2%, maybe close to 2.5%. And then when you throw our patronage program on top of that, which we've been paying for be our 38th consecutive year this year, we really can get that net interest cost back down to pre-inflationary levels.
How does that work? How easy is the process, and how can farmers take advantage of AgLink?
AgLink is much more easier than it used to be. It used to be paperwork stacked on your desk and a lot of manual stuff. With technology and robotic process automation, we're able to do it with a couple clicks of the button.
I want to get into the weeds a little bit. We have a farm bill that we've been working off of since 2018, expired in 2023. We gave it a one-year extension, did that same thing again in September of 24, and now it expires at the September timeframe of 2025. From Ag Credit's standpoint, how important is the farm bill, and what are some things that you're hoping as we get a modernized farm bill, fingers crossed, you see as we get something in the works here?
Yeah, the farm bill is super important to Farm Credit or Ag Credit, and the farm credit system in general. It affects every part of what we do from coast to coast, and we want to support our political officials to understand the importance of it and how it actually impacts our producers. And while we want to get it modernized, we got to be realistic about how much that's actually going to impact us, short term versus long term. But we're going to support it and do what's best for our members.
Of course, your members are the reason that you're in business, and one of the reasons that it really does literally pay to be a member of Ag Credit is that patronage you talked about. You mentioned 38 years now. Correct. You've been paying that out.
Yep, absolutely. We live by our cooperative principles, and it's just something that we've been blessed to be able to do and been able to pay out when times have been not so good and when they are really good. It's what we do. It's what we're all about, and we're just happy to be able to provide that service back to our members and give them back the money that they've earned.
Great to get an update from Ag Credit here at their annual meeting in Perrysburg. Scott Parker is Vice President of Operations for Ag Credit. Appreciate your time. Thank you so much. That'll do it for the Ohio Farm Bureau podcast. Thank you for watching, listening, wherever you might be. I'm Ty Higgins. We'll see you down the road.
Find previous podcasts at ohiofarmbureau.org and search podcast.